up, everybody? Axe Wizard here. It's been a while since my last video about Linux and, well, any video in general. But a while ago, I did a video of when I first switched to Linux Mint from Windows 11. And I did another follow-up video like 2 weeks after, like, you know, are the cracks starting to show? And it's been 3 or 4 months, I think, since I made that video. Okay, so I made that. I switched to a new operating system video March 27th of 2024, and it's now September 24th. So March is, wow, so it's been 5 months. All right, cool. So yeah, it's been 5 months since I switched, and I figured I would share some of my thoughts, and especially after I upgraded to Linux Mint 22, because when I installed it, I was running Linux Mint 21.3. So what are my thoughts? I still love it. It's still great. Has it been perfect? No, it has not. There has been a few problems with it, but that's the nature of free and open source stuff, because from my understanding, basically this is all just a bunch of different like packages and solutions that people have made, and Linux Mint kind of tidies it all together nicely. And so sometimes cracks do show, sometimes things might not work right, but usually all I have to do is, let me just move myself out of the way. Usually all I have to do is just go down here to this shield, and there's usually some updates here. And typically once I install those updates, I'd say maybe only 10% of the time do I actually have to restart after installing the updates. It usually fixes whatever issue I was having. But it hasn't fixed the issue I've been having lately. And I'm still trying to diagnose it, but I think it has to do, I think I've narrowed it down to my Wi-Fi adapter drivers. So let's bring up, I guess, my system info here so we can take a look. So I'm going to type in system info. I'm going to copy this stuff to clipboard. I know I can bring it up in a terminal. I can run a fancy command that gives this stuff, but I think this is more, I don't know, user-friendly. So we got all this stuff here, right? So you can see this is the kernel that I'm running right now. 6.8.0-45 generic. And so Linux Mint 22 upgrades from like the old 5.15 kernel that was running in 21.3 to 6.8. Because of that update, it seems like a lot of things have changed, especially with drivers, because from my understanding, drivers are built into the Linux kernel. And so when I first tried to upgrade, it actually failed, and it completed successfully, but I didn't have any Wi-Fi. And I even tried plugging in like a different Wi-Fi, like a USB Wi-Fi adapter. Couldn't get internet. I had to actually try to do like internet connection sharing from a Windows computer and Ethernet cable into here, because I only have a Starlink router, and that for some reason Elon Musk did not grace us with an Ethernet port on that damn thing. So that's what I had to do. And I wasn't able to find a solution for it. It didn't work. I tried updating it and stuff like that, and it just still didn't work. So I waited a few weeks, tried the upgrade again, and it just worked. So I had internet and it works. But since I tried to do the update that first time, sometimes my computer would just start stuttering, and it would get worse. Like I'd be playing Terraria or like some game, and then like the screen would freeze for like a split second, and then it would freeze for like half a second, and then a few minutes later it would freeze for maybe a full second, and then, you know, 15 to 30 seconds later it would freeze for like 2 seconds, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And it seems to be with this bad boy right here, the wireless network adapter, this RTL 8821CE. I guess some people have been having problems with this on newer kernels. It's not just Linux Mint. I've also seen stuff with like Ubuntu, however you want to pronounce it, running into problems with this. And it's specifically this RTW8821CE driver that I guess is included by default in the kernel. Has some problems. And from what I've been able to tell, if we bring open the logs, which is a handy tool if you haven't used it before, I have a few other things here, like I had some NVIDIA driver issues that might also be the cause of it, but I don't think so, because once I did the updates, driver stuff seems to be working okay. I am still getting a few random things, but from researching those, it seems like it's just not a big deal. So I don't know. The stuff I'm worried about, though, is this RTW8821CE timeout to flush queue. For some reason, it can't seem to do that. And I noticed that whenever I start getting like those freezes, whenever I check my logs, like right now I have 8 of these events. Whenever I check my logs, there's like hundreds, sometimes even 1,000+ events of not being able to flush this queue. So I don't know if it's just overloading, if it's like a memory leak or something, but once I restart, I'm good to go until like another few hours later if I'm doing something heavily internet intensive, like say I'm uploading a video, or if I'm streaming like high quality content or whatever. I can only do it for like 3 hours or so before my computer just starts doing that weird freeze thing. If I don't stop everything and restart my computer just crashes. It locks up. And so that's been the biggest problem I've had, which is, I think, a pretty damn big problem. I haven't quite figured it out, but to be honest, I haven't really spent much time looking into it. Partially because I just recognize that, oh, it's stuttering, and then I just stop everything I'm doing. I restart my computer. It takes like 30 seconds to restart this bad boy, and then I'm right back into it. And so I'm limping along with it for now, and from what I gather, it might be eventually fixed once Realtek changes their driver or updates it. The options that I believe I have is that I think there is an open source driver that I can install, but it does involve messing with the kernel. And if I do that, anytime that there is an update, I would either have to ignore kernel updates, which I don't want to do, or I would have to redo that process every time the kernel updates, which seems like it would be a pain in the ass. So right now I'm just kind of leaving it, hoping it fixes itself, but it might not. Who knows? And again, this seems to be a very... this doesn't seem to be a super common issue that people have reported. I've found a few forum posts about it, but for most part, it doesn't seem to be too big a deal, or it doesn't seem to be too frequent. So maybe I'm just some special unicorn. I don't know. But anyway, that's the bad. And that's pretty bad, to be honest. Like, let's be real. Having to restart my computer every 2-3 hours because it's going to crash kind of sucks. And if I'm doing something that's like critical or time sensitive, like if I was using this for like, I don't know, work, and I was on like a Zoom call or something, or collaborating with some devs on a project, and, oh, sorry guys, I have to drop the call and restart my computer or else my computer's going to lock up. That probably wouldn't be very good, right? But for my personal casual use of this bad boy, Daily Driver, I'm not bothered by it that much. I feel like I should be bothered by it more, and you as the viewer are probably like, dude, what's wrong with you? That's a big problem. Why are you not fixing it? Or why are you still using this distribution of Linux that sucks? You should be using XYZ or whatever, because, you know, I'm sure everybody has their own flavor of Linux. And that's one of the awesome things about Linux, is that there's a lot of flavors, baby. There is a lot of options with Linux. For me, I just wanted a pretty easy thing. Like, I've only really had to open the terminal a few times to do various things. But mostly I use my terminal just to run like Git commands on my repositories and stuff like that. So I've been doing lots of fun stuff. Like if I go to my GitHub, actually no, let's go to my itch.io. Where is it? Here we go. So I've been taking part in these game jams. I found the Godot Wild Jam. So I use the Godot engine to make video games. That's what I like doing in my spare time when I have the mental juices left over. Unfortunately, work has been, oh my god, so draining. That's partially why like my content has slowed down to almost non-existent, because I just get home and like I feel like I used up all my creative juices. So I don't have any of that left. But I've been kind of making games and stuff like that, and I put them on my GitHub. So if you ever want to see like how I make those, you can see my terrible code just by looking up my XWizard BGG on GitHub. I got a few different things. Ignore that Go HTMX demo. That was I haven't done anything with that. But for like the last Wild Jam I did, you know, it's got Abducted, right? You can play it on itch.io if you want to check it out. And you can see exactly how I made it here. You can even pull the code into your own Godot system and run it there and make changes and whatever. It's open source. So you can fork it. You can do whatever you want with it. Somebody actually forked the other one I did. Yeah, somebody forked this one. So somebody already like checked it out and probably did their own changes or something like that. But pretty cool. That's the only thing I've been using the terminal for. So with all that being said, what do I use this computer for? Well, I still use it for everything. I still do my game development on here. I still do video games. Like I enjoy gaming. So between Steam and Lutris, I'm able to play all the games that I want to play. And I run the Brave browser, which lets me do all the things I want to do. Like right now I'm listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl on Audible without having to do a bunch of fucking bullshit ads through Brave. So I do that. I watch YouTube videos on here. I record videos on here. I edit videos on here. I'm recording a video right now with OBS over here. So I hear, hey, here we are. Hi, everybody. Hi, Infinity. So I do almost everything I did on Windows on here. Now, in my previous video about Linux, like 5 months ago now, I mentioned that I hadn't gotten like audio recording stuff to work how I wanted it to, and for the most part that's still true. I haven't really messed with that. My plan was I was going to wait until Linux Mint 22 to come out, which, hey, it's here, I'm running it, because Linux Mint 21.3 was still running a old audio system thing called, I think, Pulse Audio. And then now we're running something I think called Pipewire. And I think that that's supposed to fix a lot of the problems I might have been having. However, I just haven't tried to do all that stuff again. I have Reaper on here. I'm able to use it. I'm able to record stuff. I have an actual modeling amp over here with an interface that I plug in, so I still have guitar tones and stuff I can use. But I'm not able to use the DAW that I was using in Windows, and I don't have all the plugins and VSTs and all that stuff that I had. Not saying that that's impossible to do on Linux. I tried following this YaBridge tutorial on how to get that set up, and I kind of messed everything up. I ended up just reverting back to a previous time shift thing. If you're not sure what time shift is, it's kind of like it's kind of like Time Machine on Mac, but it's only for your system configuration. I think you can set it up to also back up all your files and stuff too, but by default it's just set to use just your system stuff. So when I make any system changes, I just use time shift and revert back. And then I think there's another backup program that you can get. I haven't done it yet because I don't have a spare drive at this moment. I'll do it eventually, but time shift has been working fine for me so far. But it doesn't back up like your home folder and stuff like that, which I think is where most of all your files and stuff are. But where was I even going? Oh yeah, audio stuff. So audio stuff, I still haven't figured out. I was able to do some stuff, but to be honest, I've been so tired. I mostly just pick up my guitars and just, noodle around on them for a little bit. And I got this one with a whammy bar, and I just play around on it, do some stuff. But for the most part, I haven't really been making music lately, which I think I might start to get back into. But so that's one of the big things, is that I don't have the PreSonus Studio One 5 DAW that I use, the digital audio workstation. That I like that one a lot. I don't have EZ-Drummer 2, which I use for all my drums. I don't have Bias Effects 2 by Positive Grid. That was all my guitar effects and stuff like that, so I don't have that set up on here. And I don't know if that's all possible. I'm sure that it is possible to make all that work. I just haven't put a lot of effort into it because I just been so drained from work, and this thing does everything else I want it to, that I just haven't messed with it. I've only had to boot back into Windows probably twice in the last, maybe 3 times in the last 5 months, and that was briefly. I forgot why I had to boot back into Windows. Oh, one of them was because I needed to do I needed to run a build or something like that, and I couldn't get it to work on Linux, and I was under a time limit for one of these game jams, and so I just booted back over into Windows, and I hated every second of it, and I haven't looked back since I switched. Now, am I going to try any other Linux distros? I'm sure I'll try them at some point, but for now, I'm pretty happy where I'm at with Mint. It suits my needs, and I think it's one of the more user-friendly Linux distributions out there, especially if people are coming from Windows. Because I know that right now, there are a lot of people that are getting fed up with Microsoft, similar to how I am, where they're just ramming that AI down everyone's throat and just baking it into the operating system and just not giving you any choice and just robbing everything from you, all your data. And I'm just tired of it. So I've been having a blast with Linux, and I just wanted to make a video kind of sharing my feelings after 5 months. What do I think of 5 months? Now, again, it hasn't been perfect. There have been some pretty serious problems that, for the most part, I've been able to work through. This last one hasn't resolved itself yet, but to be fair, I haven't put a lot of effort into trying to solve it myself because I can just skate by. So let's talk about some things that are handy stuff I didn't realize. So in Linux Mint 22, the software manager loads a lot quicker. And this is the first place I go to try to find anything. If I need a program or something, I look here, and I can usually find it, and it works great. Also, there's this update manager here, and I check this like every day. There's usually something to be updated every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And for the most part, besides this recent issue, the big issue of the computer like stuttering and eventually crashing, any problem that I've had on Linux was usually due to an update, and it was usually fixed like the next day by another update. So super awesome. I've been super enthused with that, and I also like the fact that when it does do an update, for the most part, unless I'm updating something critical like the kernel, it doesn't require you to restart most of the time. So that's super cool. Another thing I found out that I wasn't really aware of, I don't know if I covered this in my last video, but there's a system monitor. And this thing kind of works okay. I might try to see if there's a different one that shows me more metrics, because right now this only shows me CPU, memory and swap, and network. I would like to see something that maybe shows my disk performance and my GPU performance. That would be nice. But this is sort of like a Windows Task Manager like thing. So that's what that's what this is reminiscent of. So this is handy if you have a process and you don't want to go in the terminal and try to kill it and all that stuff. You just go here and do it. So super cool. I like that. So that's one cool thing I found out. Another cool thing I found out is the logs, which I pulled up earlier. So this is a pretty handy tool. I like this because it gives you a snapshot of the important stuff here. So you can kind of see how your system's doing. So you can see here I've got some broken pipe arrows about this Vidioc query control thing. So I might look into that. Maybe that might be, this is a security type though, so maybe it's a vulnerability. Please don't hack me, please. There's a system error here about my GPU stuff, so NVIDIA DRM. This, from what I gathered, this seems to be part of the proprietary NVIDIA driver. I guess some NVIDIA graphics cards have like a USB-C slot on them. This one does not. So from what I've gathered, this error was like due to that, or one of these was. Maybe it was this I2C timeout error I was thinking of. That was due to that. There's no USB-C slot on my card, and the driver just doesn't handle that well, so it's throwing an error, which doesn't mean anything. But you can go to see applications. So if you have like something that's crashing, you can see what's going on here. One thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of these use specialized XZP X11 to PID functions. From what I've like, there's 394 of these right here. So from what I gather, I typically get this when like running like flat packs or running running stuff with like wine, I think. There's some call, I guess, that needs to be updated. From what I gather, this will eventually just solve itself with updates, but I could be wrong. So far, it hasn't affected anything, but you can see what's going on and you can just research things. So if you're having problems with Linux, specifically Mint, if you're using it, I recommend pulling up logs. I think it's just built into the release, but I think for 22 you have to find it. So if you just go to the software manager and type in logs, it's GNOME logs is what it is. So this came built in with Linux Mint 21.3, and then it was missing when I updated to 222. So you'll have to find that there. Yeah. So we got system. So this is kind of where I look. You can see I've got a few of these timeout to flush queues stacking up already, like we talked about earlier. We're still getting a few of these failed to grab mode set ownership. I might look into that one. We got a few security things, hardware. So logs has been really helpful for diagnosing stuff. Highly recommend that. The other thing that I recommend is under system settings. If you go to disks, you can click on a disk, and I think if you just go up here in these three dots, you can go to smart data and self-tests, and you can kind of check and see how your drive is doing. Now, I'm running a solid state, so these might not necessarily indicate that your drive is fully operational and awesome and everything. If you're running like a spinning disk drive for some reason, like if you're installing Mint on an older computer, which it runs great on, by the way, this will give you a much more, like, you'll be able to get a better insight into when your drive is going to fail. But with solid state, those babies could just blink out at any moment, really. So, but this tells you if you have disk problems, which I found out trying to troubleshoot my crashes. So cool. But yeah, those are some of the cool stuff I've noticed. And yeah, I am loving my Linux Mint journey, and pretty much I haven't done many changes to it since my last video, because once I got it all set up, it mostly just works. It plays the games I want. It lets me edit videos. It lets me record videos. I can make games. I can do my programming. I can do my art. I installed like this Pixelrama program, Pixelorama, which is awesome. Version 1.0 just released recently. And yeah, I've got a list somewhere of a lot of these free and open source packages that I have found a lot of value in. And hopefully when my financial situation turns out a little better, hopefully soon, I'm going to throw a few dollars at these projects. I want to support them because that's one big thing that I haven't mentioned in my videos, but thankfully people in my comments have been saying, like reiterating that, like, hey, these are all free and open source. If you want to keep it that way, support them. So a lot of these packages and stuff, these programs, these projects that make my life better, I definitely want to support them. So keep that in mind whenever you're using free and open source stuff. Yes, it's free. If you can throw a few bucks their way, that would mean a lot to the people who work on these things and make all this possible. Anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to make a video update. I don't really have any script or thing I wanted to like talking points I wanted to hit or anything. I just felt like firing up the camera and sharing my experience because it's been 5 months now since I made that first I Switched to Linux video, and surprisingly, I think that's my biggest video on this channel now. I make a whole bunch of random content on this channel, largely lately about tabletop content and like tabletop role-playing content and game development or programming stuff, software development type videos. But occasionally I play video games and stuff on here, and but by far that video I think is my biggest one on this channel, and it blew up for some reason. So thank you all so much for listening to me ramble and watching this video. Hopefully there are some valuable insights here, and hey, in the off chance if you have any ideas on like troubleshooting stuff for this, drop a comment. Not saying like, hey, I made this video to do troubleshooting for me. You guys should help me out. Now, if you guys have run into this, or if you have experienced it yourself, or if you solved it, let me know what solved it for you. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Do you use Linux? I know it seems to be pretty divisive in the comments on my previous videos, where it was like, sometimes we had some Windows fanboys come over and say like, why would you use this crap that just doesn't even work? Why just go back to Windows? And you know, people are entitled to their opinion, but a lot of people were recommending other distributions to try out. We've had quite a few people who were fans of Arch Linux, which I looked at. I think it's a bit above my comfortability right now, because it seems like it is stable in the long run, but it requires a bit more setup out of the box. I think it has a steeper learning curve than Linux Mint does. So I've had people recommend, like some people recommended Ubuntu. Some people recommended I try out, instead of using Cinnamon or just base Linux Mint, try the LMDE, which is the Linux Mint Debian edition. So I might try that out eventually, because this is based off of the Ubuntu kernels, and it seems like Ubuntu, however you pronounce it, is trying to go the way of Snap packages or whatever, and it seems like the people who make Mint aren't a fan of that. And so they seem to be going away from that. I don't know the particulars of why. I haven't looked into the pros and cons, or why Snap is a good or a bad thing, or what. But it seems like Linux doesn't. It seems like Linux Mint doesn't prefer to use those and prefers Flatpaks. I don't know if that's in lieu of Snap packs or Snap, whatever they were called. I don't know. A lot of stuff that's beyond me that I just haven't invested the mental time to investigate. A lot of my time is just at work, and then when I'm not, I am mentally recovering from work. So, yeah. But I've had lots of people suggest other distributions. I think some people recommended like Manjaro. I think I had one or two people recommend like Red Hat, which I thought was like enterprise stuff. I've never messed with Red Hat. I had a few people, there's like Ubuntu Studio people recommended for like audio production and stuff like that. I don't know, there's just so many out there. But anyway, again, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I appreciate it, and hopefully you find this helpful. And I don't know, if you're thinking about switching, maybe this kind of gives you a more realistic picture of what to expect. It's not going to be all roses. It's not perfect, but at the same time, I'm fine with it. I've booted the few times I booted back into Windows, I just felt freaking gross. And the one time that I had to boot back into Windows when I was on a time constraint, guess who wanted to do Windows updates? Good old Microsoft. And did I have a choice? No! It just shut that shit down right then and there and did the updates, and I was just stuck until it was done. Boy, was I happy. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. Good luck in your endeavors and stuff, and I'll see you in whatever video I make next if you decide to watch my boring ass anymore.